What do you do when you have a bad shipper or manufacturer? On today's episode, we're going to uncover situations that are not normally talked about. We're going to peel back the layer of what it's like to have a good partner, a good shipping relationship, as well as a bad relationship. Justin, have you ever had any, bad shipping partners that you dealt with?
Yes, Brian.
Well,
yes,
that was quick. That was a quick response, man.
I'm kidding. No, a few stick out, but yes, definitely have.
Yeah.
And it's a learning process. We've had some in the past. We'll have some in the future.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can do to kind of manage that, but I want to turn it back to you. Yeah. What comes to mind? What are some characteristics that you see as like this is getting a little toxic? I don't think it makes sense.
Yeah,
might need to end this relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I think like to break it down a little bit. I think it's hard, right? Especially from a salesperson or from a logistics salesperson, right? You are prospecting or you're calling these people for weeks, maybe months at a time, and then all of a sudden you get your chance, right? And you get your shot to do business together. And I think that when you ask the question of what characteristics? I think a lot of it has to do with the communication piece. Are they giving you the right details? We've seen a million times before where a shipper sends over details to a load that are inaccurate, right? Then we go back and you say, hey, listen, we can't do this. This is, 900 miles overnight, right? And then, the shipper might say, well, all my other brokers do it, right? Like those
for a lot less money.
Right. Yeah. For cheaper. Right. So I think, that's just one example, right? So inaccurate information, I think, trying to negotiate on every single shipment possible. Now they have a job to do, right? And their job is to maintain the costs or reduce the costs of their department, right? Which we get that, I think, but there is a fine line there where if they're coming back and they're negotiating every $25 or $50 on every single load, it gets exhausting after a period. I think that the last thing is, they have to look at it, or shipper or manufacturer, they need to look at it from a true partnership relationship as well, right? So if they're just looking at you as a commodity, I think that's going to be a rocky road ahead, right? So I think those are things that, just three quick, items to look for if your customers don't value you or they don't value the relationship or partnership. You have to figure out, is this going to be worth it long term?
That's exactly it. And here's how I view it, Brian. You have relationships with good shippers, bad shippers. It's a relationship. Mm-hmm. Then you have your partnerships. Mm-hmm. Those are with your true partners, your clients that you're going to focus your time on. You have to figure out things up front. It's like dating. You have to figure it out up front whether or not this relationship makes sense.
Yeah.
And if they're throwing out red flags, and then, you call them, they're willing to give you a load, they just want the cheapest price.
Sure.
It's probably not going to be the most healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And I doubt it's going to end in a partnership because what you value doesn't line up with what they value.
Sure.
And you have to ask those questions up front to qualify them to see if it even makes sense to continue the conversation. So there's a lot of flags and things that we look for in clients, and if their values line up with ours, then yes, we continue the conversation and we look for commitments to get to that partnership type relationship.
With that, we talk about price, and obviously that's a huge factor in our business. But if a customer or a shipper is out there and they're always asking about price, they're always trying to send quotes out, right? Do you necessarily view that as a bad thing, or what do you think about the price stuff?
No, obviously it's important for all companies.
Yeah.
You're not just going to go if you have a partner, a carrier, let's say, that runs for $1,000
mm-hmm.
and they do a phenomenal job for you, and then you have another partner that is quoting you $1,500 and
mm-hmm.
they do a phenomenal job for you.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to go and pay the $1,500
right.
when you have someone who's providing the exact same service for a lower cost. So
sure.
yes, price is always going to be important, but when your service is far and above the competition's and you're not that much higher,
right?
shippers, and this is anyone in general,
Yeah.
you need to think of the consequences
Yeah.
for paying a lower cost and getting a shittier service.
I mean, I think I always view it to like an airline, right? Like you pay that low cost for like a value airline. And I feel like with that, you always get like the tack-ons, right? Like a bag fee or like a aisle seat fee, right? God, I remember we flew a value airline a couple years ago and it was like, hold on, wait a second, what? Like this is actually more than what my flight with Delta would have been, right?
Yep.
With the relationship or bad shipper, I have I have one that comes to mind, and it's
let's hear about it.
Yeah, I think it's like it was one of those things where they had the volume, right? And I knew that they had product that needed to be shipped into the major retailers, Costco, Albertsons, Safeway, Walmart. I knew that the opportunity was there. But it was just the mentality, right? And it was always like even the negotiating on price on every single shipment. And never even like from a shipper side of it, like saying thank you or good work, right? Which like, that's kind of like our business. We don't really operate on thank yous or, thumbs ups, right? But I think it does, bring some value from the shipper side when they appreciate how hard you're working, whether that's a night or a weekend or handling a problem. I also think like with that shipper, I know that she never worked anytime outside the hours of 8 and 5. So if I had an issue at 7:30 p.m., going back to her, like texting or calling, they would not get answered until the next day. And then here I am, I got a carrier on the line, load's not getting picked up, or maybe the load is not ready. Well, I got to lay this guy over. I have to pay money, $250 layover or whatever it is. And I don't know if they're going to reimburse. I mean, so like, it was like, yes, they have volume. Yes, they have product being moved all the time, but like the relationship was not there. Have you ever had anything like that, or?
Yes, definitely plenty. And it's funny you say that because the way I look at it is, whatever the culture is at that company. Like, I don't work at these companies, but you can get a feel for the culture.
Sure.
Because if the way they're treating the carriers and their partners is pretty negative and very transactional, and like when you're doing stuff well, they're loving you, but as soon as you slip up, they're wanting to kill you. It's like, it has to be reciprocated, and it has to go both ways.
Yeah.
So yes, I've had plenty of those relationships, but also you look at the good relationships and what they do right. And I think what a lot of shippers, I think the great shippers do this very well, but being the shipper of choice in the industry.
Yeah.
What shippers do drivers like want to
pick up at? Yeah.
They see that city.
Yeah.
They're begging you for the same shipments out of that location because they show up. The warehouse employees are always positive and welcoming.
Yeah.
They get them in and out. Like these drivers are wanting to load, reload, drop, deliver, move. They're all over the place. And if they're sitting at a shipper for 8 hours and the shipper's detention policy is
not getting
$0
compensated,
and $5 after 24, like the driver's not going to want to go back to that facility.
And I think like you look at it from, that, like if you are striving to be that shipper of choice, right now you're going to reduce the costs that you have because these people are willing to take those shipments because they know they have a relationship and they know that it's easier to deal with those items, right? They know if they're waiting for more than 4 hours and they're going to get paid, right? And I think that brings a ton of value from the from the shipping manufacturing side, as opposed to, we talk about on this side over here, like the bad carriers, right? Or not bad carriers, the bad shipping manufacturing partners, right? Where they're churning through trucking companies, brokers, each and every day, and they'll set up anybody at any point just to get the cheapest price.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think it's funny when you call them and we talk about this a lot, but when you call them, they're immediately willing to set you up just because
it's like, whoa, wait a second, what's wrong here?
It's a red flag because they can't onboard carriers fast enough before they're out the door.
Probably a pretty bad shipper.
Yeah, the shippers that you're jumping through hoops on, and you're going way above and beyond to get their attention, get an opportunity to work with them. Like those are probably the ones you want to focus on because one, that the opportunity is there, but also when they're telling you, they're loyal to their current carriers, they appreciate service, they appreciate relationships, they appreciate communication. Like that's what we value.
Yeah.
And as long as we have a seat at the table and we're doing the right things and checking the boxes, at some point we will eventually work with them. And one comes to mind, on the positive side, our clients that we appreciate more than anything are the ones that they share, their appreciation back to us.
Yeah.
And one in particular, probably my favorite client of all time, we had a very consistent track record of reliability, service, communication. We were run a very tight process with our operations side, and they loved what we were doing. And we had a stretch of a week where, breakdown, and these are high priority hot shipments between facilities or transfer shipments. Breakdown. I drug my feet on repowering a couple of the shipments, and my contact, who's incredible, he's on my ass.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is out of the blue.
Right.
You were shooting 99%.
Yeah.
But you're just tanking in the last stretch here. So, I got a piñata.
Okay.
From Party Source.
Oh, nice.
And it was the poop emoji piñata.
Oh, there you go.
I filled it with airplane shots.
Oh, there you go.
I wrote a handwritten card with
bourbon, tequila. What was it?
It was a mix.
Okay.
It was filled with a hangover is what it was. But I wrote a handwritten card with the message of, Mr. Contact.
Yeah.
Apologies for shit in the bed this past week.
Yeah, I love it.
I want you to know that you're my top priority.
Yeah.
This is not, I learned from it. This is not going to happen. So on and so forth. So our relationship only grew from that point. And I think that the message there is, if you have great partners, be upfront. Like the one controllable that we have is communication. Unfortunately, for our industry, people do not know how to communicate.
Yeah, they suck at it.
Correct. So if you have an issue, to have a healthy relationship, be upfront.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. or Mrs. prospect or client, I screwed up, but here's what I learned, and here's the solution for it.
Right.
So when you have the shippers you don't really want to work with, you're not even getting an opportunity to say that because you're just getting slapped on the wrist constantly. The good partners are going to be the ones that appreciate that. You learn from it. They know you have the track record.
Yeah.
But you grow from that point on.
Sure. Do you think like with if we had like a bad shipper, right? So that's a great shipper. I love that story, right? I think
and real quick, all the drivers want to load at their facilities because they take care of the carriers.
Of course. Yeah, that's exactly it. And they promote that culture of like, hey, we're going to take care of you, keep coming back, and that happy customers, right?
Yep.
Now on the bad shipper side of it, right? When we talk about those type of people or those type of manufacturers, I think there is like, if there was and I've felt this over time, but if you screw up, maybe you have 2 or 3 late trucks in a row during a given week, I always feel that those bad shippers, they're always threatening business. They always like hold it over your head to say, all right, well, I guess we're just going to, put you on the shelf, or we're going to cut you out for the next couple weeks. Right. Which like, I don't know, like, yeah, is it a scare tactic? It is. But at the same time, like, okay, is that what our relationship or partnership is? Right. So I think, speaking to some of the brokers that are listening to this show, make sure that you know who you're dealing with, right? If they're constantly threatening you or constantly, trying to kick you out, I always view it, a relationship is what it is. And I went back to that, the one that I was talking about, where a lot of volume delivering to big retailers, they treated me poorly, right? They were negotiating every rate. I know that with that, I would cherry pick a lot of those lanes. Am I devoting a ton of energy into it? No.
Are you answering your phone after hours or weekends? Nah,
probably not. Probably not. Yeah. Am I like proactively going out and solving problems on a Sunday night at 8 p.m.? Probably not. I'm just going to roll it till Monday because of that relationship, right? Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. But I think that the shipper and the manufacturer, they set that precedent, and that relationship is there. And I think, as younger brokers listen to this, or any broker listens to it, trying to cherry pick those type of relationships, right? Where, okay, I'm really good on, lane A, B, and C. I can make a decent margin on these, and I have a good carrier base to follow through. Okay, you don't need to totally write off every single bad shipper out there, but know them for what they're worth, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, and think of it this way too. When you're devoting all this time and energy, working your ass off for cheap shipments that, they're probably going to pay in 60 to 90 days from now.
Yeah, we didn't even get on that part yet.
You could
the
be
payment terms.
Yeah, run our list of AR and you can see exactly who's on there. But focus that time and energy on either your clients who value you or new business for shippers that will value what you bring to the table. So you're exactly right.
Yeah. So a couple things to think of. We talked about characteristics of good shippers. We talked about characteristics of bad shippers. At the end of the day, it comes down to time management, right? Where do we want to spend our time, and who do we want to, bring value to as a service provider? So if you have any thoughts or comments, please add those on LinkedIn or drop them here in the show. We'll just call a spade a spade. Some drivers can be challenging, right? And I think we have to do a better job promoting a lot of those great carriers that are out there that want to do a good job, and they want to take care of our clients' freight and take a lot of pride in their work, right? So, as brokers, we need to do a better job of bringing that to the table and respecting these people that, and hell, you said it, man, that literally keep this country moving every single day.